Houston housing market, August of 2025, where we've been, where I think we're going, what I've seen, and what I've heard up until now. My name is Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for over 12 years, and I've been loving Houston since 1987. Let's get into it. So, first of all, we are in a buyer's market for the first time in literally 13 years. We have the highest amount of active listings since 2007. Now, we all know what came in 2008. And I will say we are not seeing the same signs that we saw in '05 to '07 that led up to the bursting of the housing bubble. We are seeing prices be pretty sticky. I pulled months of inventory for a bunch of different little pockets of town. And what I noticed from this time last year to right now in all of these pockets that I pulled is while months of inventory increased, prices also have increased slightly or stayed about the same. And by the way, when I say months of inventory, what that means is if not one more house went on the market, it would take X amount of months for all of the houses to sell. So if there's 5 months of inventory in the villages, that means that not one more house could come on the market for the next 5 months, and it would take 5 months at the current sale rate for every single house to sell. So when we look at months of inventory, that's a really good indicator of market activity. So I pulled months of inventory for several very nice places of town or hotspots. So Rice Military, we're currently at 5.8 to 7 months of inventory. Rice Museum, the Museum District-ish, is 4.5 months. The Heights as 4.8 months. Montrose is 6.7 months of inventory. Now, Westview is at 2.4 months, and Briargrove is only at 1.3 months of inventory. So Westview, Briargrove, and actually the villages have the lowest amount of inventory in all of the areas that I pulled. Garden Oaks is at 6.3 months of inventory. Oak Forest is at 4.9. Timber Grove and Lazy Brook is at 5 months of market, and then the Memorial Park area is at about 5 months of inventory. So the only places that are below 3 months of inventory are Westview, Briar Grove, and the villages, which if we're below 3 months of inventory, that actually means we are in a seller's market. So in those pockets, it's still kind of a seller's market. But basically everywhere else in the loop is a buyer's market, which means when I say buyer's market, this means that buyers may write an aggressive offer and they may actually win. The seller may say yes, especially if the seller has been on the market more than 60 days. A buyer writing an aggressive offer may actually have a shot. So, and what do I mean by aggressive offer? I mean, if the house is listed for 800,000 and it's been on the market 67 days, and I had a qualified buyer, I might say we could write an offer at 730 or 750, and I bet you the seller would at least respond. Now, if we were in a seller's market, that house would sell in about 7 days, pretty close to or above list price. So we are seeing high months of inventory, but prices are largely unchanged because it's the weirdest thing. Since a lot of these sellers have very low interest rates, rather than taking a loss on their property, they're just taking it off the market. They're just saying, no, I don't have to sell, so I'm just going to take it off the market. Or perhaps they are Airbnb-ing it, or they're doing a long-term rental. Now, while some sellers have to sell, not all sellers have to sell. So just keep that in mind if you are a buyer. Um, the average of all HAR is 5.4 months of inventory. 6 months is a relatively balanced market. However, this is the most amount of months of extended months of inventory we have seen in Houston in a decade. The national average of months of inventory is 4.4, just for reference. And we have seen an increase of days on market. So last year, about this time, the average was about 46 days on market. In 2022, the average days on market was closer to like less than 30. So we have seen an increase from 46 to 50 days from 2024 to 2025. Now, in some areas, especially if you are in Rice Military or Montrose, you need to expect at least 120 days on market. And if your house is not selling, you need to reduce the price. I hate to tell you, and that's never a conversation that I really want to have with my sellers, but if it's somebody said to me, if it's not selling, the price is not compelling. Um, then lastly, so as a seller, you're going to need a strategy. And your strategy is not only price, location, and condition, not that you can change location, but your agent is part of the strategy. This is not a time to agree to work with someone that has only sold one or two houses. This is the most unforgiving and hardest market for different reasons than 2022 and 2021. This market is hard and it requires skill, patient expertise, and strategy experience. I have really had to scratch my head on some of these deals because sometimes they're so complex. It takes a couple of us, or it takes a couple calls with title or some very creative financing to finally get to closing. Like, I am having to sell a house 1 to 3 times before I ever even make it to closing. And what that means is sometimes I'm having to negotiate with 2 or 3 different offers that ended up not working out before I get the offer that finally makes it to closing. So that means that me and my seller have negotiated 1, 2, 3, or 4 different times with 4 different buyers. It just takes some staying power, some mental fortitude. So if you're selling, you need to price it right, priced it strategically. If the comps are coming in at 525 or 550, price it at 519 or 499 or 475 because buyers want a deal and they want your house to be in tip-top condition. Now, sellers, you need to have the right expectations when going into a contract with a buyer. So make sure you verify their financing. So your agent needs to speak to the lender and verify that they have been pre-qualified, or you need to see proof of funds if it's a cash offer. And going into this, you're just going to need to expect to be frustrated. You need to expect to be terminated on. Expect very unfair and unrealistic repair and contribution requests. And expect that if you don't just give them what they want, they're just going to terminate on you. Is that productive? No, it's not. But what I'm also seeing is there is a lot of unskilled agents out in the marketplace right now, and they don't know how to go back and forth. They don't know how to come to an agreement that both the buyer and the seller can say yes to. They quit too early. Sometimes they don't take phone calls. They only text. They rarely email. Sometimes buyers or buyer's agents will ghost you. So just expect anything. Expect them to say thank you for the contribution. Expect them to say, no, I want more. Expect them to terminate. For some reason, right now, buyers are very finicky, even though they kind of have the pick of the litter. Now, as a buyer, I want to encourage you to remain realistic because these sellers are like real people as well. And I know that buyers, you're looking for a deal. And of course, if there's a lot of inventory on the market, you do have the ability to go around and pick and choose. But you also need to know that some sellers are not going to roll over. Some sellers are going to say no. Sometimes they're going to say, no, send me your termination. So, as a buyer, certainly you can write an aggressive offer on something that's been on the market for 60 plus days, but you need to expect that the seller may not have to sell and they may just say no. So, buyers and sellers just need to kind of expect anything and everything, and you just need to be well educated and well prepared. And as promised, where I think we are going for the rest of the year is if interest rates remain unchanged, we're probably in for more of the same. If the Federal Reserve hears the cry of the American people, they will lower interest rates and the housing market will bounce back and we'll see us go into more of a seller's market for the rest of the year. Now, that's just with interest rates. The job market is healthy, but also is unhealthy in a way that I think I've some of my clients are losing their jobs. Some of my friends are holding their breath through different rounds of layoffs. And of course, this means that they would absolutely not be buying anything right now. I think a lot of people are just waiting to see. I do believe that tariffs have settled down. But I think that there's just still a lot of buyer uncertainty out there. And just remember that when everyone thinks it's a bad time to buy, isn't it a great time to buy? And again, I'll say it 1,000 times. There is a lot of choice on the market right now. And if you have been waiting to buy a house for years, what are you waiting for? There are more choices than you've ever had before. There are creative financing choices out there. Lenders are offering really cool programs right now. There's a way to pull out your equity from your house that you currently own and put it as a down payment. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you could do to get into that dream house. And if you are looking for your dream house and you want a deal, this is the time. Now, of course, no realtor and no person has a crystal ball, and we don't know what the future holds. But what I can say is prices typically increase year over year over year over year over year. And, you know, prices in the 80s were a lot lower than they are now, but interest rates were like 18%. So, it's like squeezing a balloon. Like the price is low here, but the interest is high. The interest is low here, but the prices are way high. So there's never perfect timing, but if you are looking for more choices and more negotiating power as a buyer, it's time. And if you need to sell your house right now, then sell your house, price it appropriately, put it in the best condition possible, get it on the market, get it in front of the right buyers, and take a good offer. So, in summary, inventory is up in Houston, but also across the United States. Two, for some reason, prices actually have not cratered like one would expect. They have either stayed the same or slightly ticked down, but by and large, I did not see massive price decreases in any of the research that I did from the Houston Association of Realtors numbers. So, although there are a ton of listings on the market, the more we have now we have the same amount of listings on the market that we had in 2007. So, although there are more houses on the market, prices are largely unchanged since last year and the year before. Also, I think it's really interesting that in the Northeast and the Midwest, so like New York, New Jersey, Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, Pennsylvania, and then the Midwest, so like the Nebraska, Kansas, it is a seller's market. There's low inventory up there. Like Michigan, I think they're getting multiple offers. All of my realtor friends up in the Northeast and like the North Midwest, they are really busy and they said that they're getting multiple offers. Now, in the Southern United States and the Western United States, it's actually by and large a buyer's market. And this is usually completely inverse, and it is very interesting. And unfortunately, I'm in Houston. I'm used to an extremely fast-paced and competitive market. I think that Houston and Miami are the two slowest large cities in the South right now. I mean, houses in Arizona and New Mexico and California, they are sitting and they're seeing price reductions. And normally we just do not see that. So the world is topsy-turvy in real estate. Um, I would say also in summary, if you are thinking about buying a house, buy a house. It's a buyer's market. What are you waiting for? There are more houses for you to choose from and less competition than there has been like literally since 2007. So if you have been waiting all this time to get out there into the market and make sure you get a good deal, like literally now is the time. And I understand that interest rates are high. They are. I'm not gonna lie. Everything is expensive. Groceries are expensive. Getting your nails done is expensive. Gas, car maintenance, it's all expensive. But are you going to remain in your house that's too small forever? Or are you going to keep renting forever? What does the next 3 to 5 to 15 years look like for you? Are you going to be upset with yourself once interest rates tick down and it becomes more of a seller's market again? Are you going to be irritated with yourself that you didn't buy something in one of the slowest times in real estate we've experienced in like 10 plus years? So if you've been waiting to buy a house, stop waiting and buy a house. If you found this video because you are researching ahead of a big move to Houston, or you live in Houston and you're looking for a great, amazing, perfect, seasoned agent that is an expert in all things Houston, historic houses and estates, you have found the right girl. I would love an opportunity to earn your business. My name is Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for over 12 years, and I have been loving Houston since 1987. I look forward to chatting with you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.